Well, hello everybody. It's so good to be here, doing our opening show per se. Delighted to be here with my friend Rajesh. My name is Rohit Tripathi. I am outside of Washington D.C. in the great state of Maryland. Rajesh is comfortably located in Boston, and we wanted to start a dialogue with an audience that was more than just Rajesh and me. And this is an opportunity that we're grateful to have with the public global. So today's episode per se, we want to focus on the hot news of the day, which has been the hot news for at least 2 to 3 weeks, if not longer, and that is the phenomenon of Zohran Mamdani. And the genesis of this discussion goes back to a question that I got after Zohran Mamdani's win in the New York City mayor's race. And the question was, where is India's Zohran? And, Rajesh and I have talked about this quite a bit. I wrote an op-ed in the Hindu on this as well. But this specific question regarding India's Zohran was something that we have not directly addressed. And we wanted to start the dialogue on that, the conversation on that, that what does it mean to have a Zohran in India? Obviously, that begs the question कि Zohran है कौन और उसका क्या महत्व है American politics में, क्या महत्व है Indian politics में, and then global politics में. So Rajesh, why don't we start there by I'll quickly give a background of like who Zohran Mamdani is and why is he an important figure today. So as people know, Zohran Mamdani won the New York City mayor's race. The way he won is as important as what he won. And Zohran was at 1% in the polls about a year ago when he started the race or his campaign. And he started his campaign literally days after Donald Trump's 2024 presidential win. It's important to remember that Donald Trump did significantly better than previous Republican candidates in New York City. He lost the state, but there were some very interesting numbers that emerged among the 5 boroughs of New York where there was a substantial increase in his support. So Zohran, when he started his campaign, went directly to voters in the 5 boroughs of New York to ask them why they had voted for Trump. So from the beginning, the campaign and the approach of this candidate Zohran was to listen to the people. So let me just start, putting that pin on the wall for our conversation, Rajesh. And then there are a lot of other structural benefits that accrued to Zohran because of ranked choice voting, and we'll cover that in a little bit. In the Democratic primary, and then him winning the primary, and then eventually winning the general election. It's important to also realize that Zohran was running for an office that controls a 3 lakh strong bureaucracy, 8 million constituents in New York City. And it is a very diverse set of constituents from a whole host of national origins, religious backgrounds, and also professional trajectories. And the issue that Zohran championed across the entire campaign was one of affordability and livability within the city. And that seemingly cut across not just the lowest strata of New Yorkers who are struggling to just live in the city where they work in, but across the more higher echelons of the economic strata, highlighting the unaffordability of the city. And lastly, why is this one mayor's race that important, Rajesh? I think it's important because since President Trump came to power in January of 2025, his administration and the Republicans have been on the forefront, or rather the front foot, regarding governance and almost all aspects of American life. And the opposition Democratic Party has, it's not an exaggeration to say, mightily struggled to figure out how to create an alternative narrative. The word resistance is thrown out quite a bit, but the narrative part was not clear. So in Zohran's campaign on affordability, Rajesh, it seems that a nerve was struck, a new taxonomy was given to the public, to political entrepreneurs, and his success shows, gives hopes to a lot of other political entrepreneurs in the U.S. within the Democratic Party, and it has absolutely shaken the Democratic establishment. And we'll cover the almost epic press conference we saw yesterday in the Oval Office, where even Donald Trump is rooting for Zohran's success, even though the leader of the Democratic Party in the Senate, Senator Chuck Schumer, has not, even after Zohran won the mayor's race, endorsed him. So I'm going to stop there, Rajesh, and I want to bring you in. And let's start off with your impressions of the campaign, where things stand. You're closer to Zohran than probably I am from a geography standpoint. Give us a sense of what, from the Boston worldview, it means to have Zohran win this election, and we'll also go over his identity part as well, which was not at the forefront, but was carried with an unprecedented level of confidence in American politics. So Rajesh, over to you.
Thanks, Rohit bhai. तो पहले मैं अपने हमारे जो लेखक हैं उनको एक सवाल पूछना चाहता हूँ कि इंडिया में ज़ोहरान तो नहीं है कोई, मगर इंडिया में डोनाल्ड ट्रंप कोई नहीं है. ऐसा तो मतलब डोनाल्ड ट्रंप भी तो बहुत ही नया पॉलिटिशियन है यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स में. And I want to start from this thing that the US in the last 20 years, 25 years, has seen the emergence of several politicians who you could say have broken fresh new ground. The most prominent first such person was Barack Obama, and then Donald Trump, then Alexandria Cortez, and then Zohran Mamdani. So of which 3 out of 4 are New Yorkers. So we should therefore also ask, what is it about New York that makes it this bellwether for politics in the United States? तो मुझे वैसे क्या लगता है ना कि ज़ोहरान जैसे यूएस में मतलब और कहीं नहीं है कोई, यूरोप में थोड़ी है कोई ज़ोहरान, चाइना में नहीं है कोई, जापान में नहीं है कोई. So one has to also ask, what is it about the United States that makes such politicians arise? And at least sitting here in Boston, New York is in some ways the capital of the world, right? It's the center of finance in the country that is the richest country in the world. And therefore, it in some ways is a predictor of the future of politics that has to do with money. And Zohran's politics has very much got to do with money, or rather the lack of it, and affordability being his most prominent campaign theme. But also, of course, one should also recognize कि उन्होंने campaign भी कैसे किया. ऐसा मतलब टीवी में नहीं कैंपेन किया, उन्होंने सड़कों में कैंपेन किया, घर घर जाके लोगों से मिलके बात करते हुए, वीडियो लेते हुए. ये जो नया जो कैंपेन स्टाइल है, ये तो मैंने अभी तक कभी देखा नहीं है पिछले 20-25 सालों में, कि जो पॉलिटिशियन जो है वो सड़कों में जाके लोगों से मिलते हुए दिखता है.
And I think just to pick up on that, Rajesh, कि ये community centered जो राजनीति उभर कर आ रही है, it is not giving up on any kind of intellectualism, but it is testing the intellectualism on the street. So in contrast, क्या होता है कि at least Democratic Party में यहाँ पे जो left of center लोग हैं political space में, they have relied it's too heavily on consultants ki what is the calculation that has to be made so that I can get the maximum number of votes. And in that calculation, authenticity is lost, connection is lost. And I think अगर आप जाके पोल करेंगे लोगों को यूएस में कि क्या डेमोक्रेटिक पार्टी आपसे कनेक्टेड है, 7 out of 10 have said no, they're not. And by the way, that number is 6 out of 10 for the Republicans. So it's not like anybody is connected anywhere. So what Zohran also broke through was this hunger for what people call community-centered leadership, and that's a supply-side challenge. But there is another structural element, Rajesh, कि जैसे तुमने कहा कि यूएस में ऐसा कैसे हो रहा है, बाकी जगह क्यों नहीं हो रहा है. So let's talk about the structure for a second. So the late 1780s is when the first elections start in the United States. It takes about 100 years before primaries start. So what is a primary? A primary is basically an election within a party to select the nominee or a candidate for a given election, whether it's at the local level, the state level, or at the presidential national level. And that seems to have, in the beginning, changed the game. So local level से शुरू होके आपके पार्टी बॉसेस से धीरे धीरे पावर खींचना, जैसे इंडिया में होता है कि भाई पार्टी बॉसेस डिसाइड कि किसको टिकट देना है एंड सो ऑन सो फोर्थ. सो आप किसी भी तरह के पॉलिटिकल एंटरप्रेन्योर हो इंडिया में या दुनिया में कहीं पे भी, at some point the party bosses have to approve you, bottom line, right? And US में ये system कमजोर होना शुरू हुआ in the late 1800s. And by 19 उसमें भी उसके बाद भी it took 80 to 90 years to completely demolish it almost. And even now it's not completely demolished, but at least at the local levels where the stakes are relatively lower, and they get higher because the donor class comes in and becomes more prominent as you go from local to state to national. There has been a pathway, a structural pathway for political entrepreneurs to take a chance. Zohran जैसे लोग जो 1% पे पोल कर रहे हैं, their challenge is to just get to as many people as possible and get them engaged. They're not stopped by a force. They're not limited by a party boss to say, I need to impress the party boss to make him or her give me the so-called ticket to be a nominee for the party.
I mean, that is definitely true. And again, here, I think the modern pioneers are not Democrats, but Republicans, right? The Tea Party was the pioneer in really taking away decision-making power from the party leadership from the bosses to the activists on the ground. क्योंकि प्राइमरी का एक बहुत बड़ा फायदा है कि प्राइमरी में जो लोग वोट करते हैं, they often believe in the party much more than the general election voter.
Yes.
तो उनको जिसने पकड़ लिया उसको कोई हरा नहीं सकता यूएस में. And Tea Party, I think, and then Donald Trump and his style has captured the Republican Party in a way that nobody thought even 15 years ago. तो ये जो बदलाव आया है, and इंडिया में एक फर्क है ना कि इंडिया में तो लोग अपनी पार्टी शुरू करते हैं ना.
And that's I mean, as much as we're laughing about it, that's actually highlights the structural problem कि पार्टीज में रूम नहीं है ग्रोथ का, राइट? कि अगर पार्टी में किसी नए कैंडिडेट का कोई नया आइडिया हो, कोई नई अप्रोच हो, it has to be approved by the incumbents, which basically is an anti-innovation structure, because no incumbent anywhere in the world, unless they're benevolent, will accept a challenge to their authority. So it's a self-defeating exercise, and it depends on patronage. कि क्या मैं अपने नगर पालिका अध्यक्ष को या डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल अध्यक्ष को या पीसीसी अध्यक्ष को खुश कर पाऊंगा या कर पाऊंगी, और उसके बाद टिकट मिलेगा कि नहीं मिलेगा, and so on and so forth. So I have this thing here, Rajesh, where when a community-centered leader starts building political capital with the community, they don't have a tool through which they can harness that political capital. वो पॉलिटिकल कैपिटल, जो पॉलिटिकल पूंजी लोग अपने समुदाय में, अपने नेबरहुड में, अपनी कम्युनिटी में बनाते हैं, अपने शहर में बनाते हैं, उसको कैप्चर करने के लिए उन्हें पार्टी बॉस के पास जाना पड़ता है कि पूछने के लिए कि क्या मैं चुनाव लड़ सकता हूं कि नहीं, क्या मैं चुनाव लड़ सकती हूँ कि नहीं. एंड दैट इज अ बिग फ्लॉ, दैट इज अ बिग लिमिटेशन. एंड आई थिंक एज यू जस्ट सेड एट द बिगिनिंग, ये सिर्फ इंडिया की प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, ये दुनिया भर में प्रॉब्लम है. In some places there is that, some places there isn't. But going back to the Zoran question, in the India context, I just feel that community-centered leaders do not have access to tools and mechanisms to capture the political capital or harness the political capital that they themselves create.
और आप ये बात भी ना छोड़ो कि इंडिया में पॉलिटिकल, क्योंकि यूएस में जब पॉलिटिकल बॉस हुआ करते थे और हैं अभी भी, वो खानदानी पॉलिटिकल बॉस नहीं है जनरली. इंडिया में जो पॉलिटिकल बॉस हैं वो तो बेटे या बेटियां हैं, क्या कहते हैं, जो उनके पेरेंट्स भी टिपिकली पॉलिटिशियंस हुआ करते थे या हैं अभी भी, है ना. तो वो जायदाद की तरह से पॉलिटिकल पार्टी बनी हुई है हमारे यहाँ.
Yeah, and this is nothing, not to say that people who come from political dynasties are not capable, right? But on the flip side, कि जो political entrepreneurs हैं, they're not getting a fair level playing field, right? And that's the whole point. This is not about talking down people who have legacies. They are more than welcome to participate, but the hope is that people who don't have those legacies and who are operating out of conviction, conscience, their own political IQ and talent, they need to have a pathway. उनको एक मंच देने की जरूरत है, और वो मंच लोगों को देना चाहिए, ना कि सिर्फ पार्टियों को. And that's where I feel there is a problem. And I think it really goes back to what you and I have discussed, Rajesh, the supply side problem of leadership in any democracy for that matter. And sometimes ये जो structural problems हैं, राजेश, ये रोकती हैं उस supply chain को enrich करने से.
एक और ये है ना कि इंडिया में पर कैपिटा इलेक्टेड पॉलिटिशियन और ब्यूरोक्रेट बहुत कम है. लोकसभा में कितने एमपीज हैं? 540, right? 540 MPs for 1.4 billion people.
Yeah.
Right? And while the US has a population of about 350 million, it has approximately the same number of representatives plus senators put together. Right? So they have 3 times as many at the federal level. स्टेट पे तो और भी होंगे, और टाउन तक जाता है वहां पे, है ना. स्कूल बोर्ड तक इलेक्शंस होती हैं. तो पार्ट ऑफ द चैलेंज इज दैट we have a smaller pie that we are fighting over in terms of opportunities to represent and to lead.
Yeah.
And therefore structural advantages play a outsized role ना, क्योंकि जिनके पास पहले से ही या तो पैसा है या फैमिली रेपुटेशन है या और कुछ है, प्रोमिनेंस है, they will get an unfair advantage relative to that conscience community based activist or leader, right? तो अभी अब जो पहले जो कह रहे थे कि न्यूयॉर्क में 3 लाख ब्यूरोक्रेट हैं, that's in a population of about, say, let's say 10 million approximately, right? Which means 1 in 30 New Yorkers is a bureaucrat, right? I think in India the numbers would be much smaller. So
it's an order of magnitude difference. Yeah.
तो मैं ये कह रहा हूँ ना कि partly to get a society to rise up, you need many more opportunities for people to show their contribution to that society.
Agreed. And it's not even rising up. I think what we're discussing here from a structural standpoint, devolution of power standpoint, जो कि पंचायती राज में निहित था, at least for the rural areas, we're basically saying that some basic structural changes, right, can significantly improve the supply side of leadership that is badly needed. अगर आप अगला ज़ोरान इंडिया में ढूंढना चाहते हैं, कहीं भी ढूंढना चाहते हैं, then you have to provide them the structure to emerge. and access the political capital that they're building, that they have the ability to harness, और उस political capital को harness करने के बाद ही फिर आप financial capital भी raise कर सकते हैं and all those things. So it's a starting point. And जब तक कि वो पहला ही दरवाजा बंद होगा, राजेश, then it is no way. If you can't leave your house, then you definitely can't make your journey. I mean, that's the bottom line, right? And that's where the gatekeepers, which don't seem to be legitimate, have to basically take the locks off the doors, so that a more representative type of leadership, community-centered leadership, can emerge. And I have no doubt that even as gifted as Zohran is as a political commentator, as a political communicator, as a political thinker, that there are scores of people with the same abilities, same talent in India and other democracies that just don't have the structure in place to harness their talents to the fullest. So I think this conversation, Rajesh, has opened up many threads. The role of money in politics, and so on and so forth, that I think we'll cover in another episode. But for today, that's pretty much it. I want to thank you for your time, and we look forward to hearing from the viewers and see what they thought about what we said. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.